Have you ever thought about what you're made of? It's not just skin and bones. Everything in your body and in every other living thing is made of tiny building blocks called cells. There are trillions of them in your body right now. Think of a cell as a miniature city or a tiny factory. Each one has a specific job to do, whether it's carrying oxygen, sending messages, or fighting off germs. All these little factories work together to keep you alive and healthy. It's an amazing world inside of us, and it all starts with the cell. Not all cells are created equal. They come in two main types. The first are prokaryotic cells, which are very simple. Bacteria are a great example of this. They're like a one-room cabin. Everything is just floating around inside. They don't have a separate room for their main control center. Then we have eukaryotic cells, which are much more complex. These are the types of cells that make up plants, animals, and even us. Think of them as a big mansion with lots of different rooms. Each room has a specific purpose. The most important room is the nucleus, which is the control center. We'll be focusing on these more complex eukaryotic cells. Let's zoom in on the kind of cells that make you, well, you. Animal cells are the building blocks for every animal on Earth, from a tiny ant to a giant blue whale. They are incredibly diverse. A nerve cell looks very different from a skin cell because they have very different jobs. Imagine we have a map of a typical animal cell. We're going to take a tour of this amazing tiny city and meet all the important parts that work together to keep the cell and you running smoothly. Let's start our adventure. Every city needs a border or a gate to control who comes in and who goes out. In a cell, that's the job of the cell membrane. It's a thin, flexible layer that wraps around the entire cell. It's like a very smart security guard. The cell membrane is picky. It lets in the good stuff, like water and nutrients, and kicks out the bad stuff, like waste. This control is super important for keeping the cell healthy and in balance. Without the cell membrane, the cell would be a chaotic mess. In the heart of our cell city, we find the most important building, City Hall. In a cell, this is the nucleus. The nucleus is the control center, the brain, the boss. It runs the whole show. Inside the nucleus is something called DNA. DNA is like a giant instruction manual or a set of blueprints that has all the information for everything the cell does. It tells the cell when to grow, when to make new parts, and what its special job is. The nucleus sends out orders to all the other parts of the cell, making sure everything works together perfectly. If you could shrink down and float inside a cell, you'd be in the cytoplasm. It's the jelly-like substance that fills up the whole cell and surrounds all the other parts. But it's not just empty space. Think of it like a swimming pool where all the organelles are floating. It's also where a lot of the action happens. Many of the chemical reactions that keep the cell alive take place right here in the cytoplasm. It provides a safe and stable environment for all the cell's important work. Does your phone need to be charged to work? Well, your cells need energy too, and that's the job of the mitochondria. They are the tiny powerhouses of the cell. You can have hundreds or even thousands of them in a single cell, depending on how much energy it needs. Mitochondria take the food you eat, like sugars, and convert it into a type of energy that the cell can use. It's like they're running a power plant, 24/7, to make sure the cell has enough energy to do everything it needs to do, from moving your muscles to sending messages in your brain. Imagine a city full of construction sites. What do you need? You need workers to build everything. In a cell, those construction workers are called ribosomes. They are tiny little dots, and their job is to build proteins. Proteins are incredibly important. They are the building blocks for almost everything in the cell and in your body. They help build new cell parts, repair damage, and carry messages. Ribosomes follow the instructions sent from the nucleus to build the exact proteins that are needed. How do people and materials get around in a city? They use roads and highways. In a cell, they have a similar system called the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER for short. It's a whole network of tubes and sacs that acts as the cell's transportation system. There are two parts to this highway. The rough ER is covered in ribosomes, and it helps make and transport proteins. The smooth ER doesn't have ribosomes. Its job is to make fats and help the cell get rid of harmful substances. It's a very busy and important highway system. Have you ever gotten a package in the mail? Before it gets to you, it has to be sorted, packaged, and labeled at the post office. A cell has its own post office called the Golgi apparatus, or Golgi body. The Golgi apparatus takes the proteins and other materials made by the ER and gets them ready for delivery. It modifies them, sorts them, and packs them into little bubbles called vesicles. Then, it ships them off to their final destinations, either somewhere else in the cell or even outside the cell. What happens to all the trash and old broken parts in our cell city? You can't just let it pile up. That's where the lysosomes come in. They are the cell's cleanup crew and recycling center. Lysosomes are small sacs filled with powerful chemicals that can break down waste products, old cell parts, and even invading bacteria. They keep the cell clean and tidy, and they can recycle materials so the cell can use them again. They are essential for keeping the cell healthy. Now let's switch gears and look at the cells that make up the amazing world of plants. From a tiny blade of grass to a giant redwood tree, all plants are made of plant cells. At first glance, they might look similar to animal cells, but they have a few extra parts that are super important for how plants live. These special parts allow plants to do things that animals can't, like make their own food. Let's explore what makes plant cells so unique. Imagine building a house with no walls. It wouldn't be very strong. Plant cells have an extra layer of protection and support that animal cells don't have, the cell wall. It's a tough, rigid layer on the outside of the cell membrane. The cell wall is what gives plant cells their boxy shape and provides strength and support. It's what allows a plant to stand up tall and not flop over. Think of it like a strong skeleton on the outside of each cell, giving the whole plant its structure. Have you ever wondered how plants eat? They don't have mouths. They make their own food, and they do it in a special part of their cells called chloroplasts. These are the little green food factories found only in plant cells. Inside the chloroplasts is where a process called photosynthesis happens. They use energy from sunlight along with water and a gas called carbon dioxide to create sugar, which is the plant's food. This is an incredible process that provides energy for almost all life on Earth. Imagine you're going on a long trip and you need to pack a big suitcase with water and snacks. Plant cells have a giant suitcase called a central vacuole. It's a huge water-filled sac that takes up a lot of space in the cell. The vacuole's main job is to store water, but it also stores nutrients and waste products. When the vacuole is full of water, it pushes against the cell wall, which helps the plant stand up straight. If a plant doesn't get enough water, the vacuoles shrink and the plant starts to wilt. So let's do a quick recap. Both animal and plant cells are eukaryotic, and they share many of the same parts, like the nucleus, mitochondria, and cell membrane. They are both tiny factories of life, but they have some key differences. Remember, plant cells have three special parts: the strong cell wall for support, the green chloroplasts for making food, and a large central vacuole for storage. Animal cells have lysosomes for cleanup and can be more flexible in their shape. These differences are all about the different ways that plants and animals live. Cells are not meant to work alone. They are amazing team players. In a complex organism like a human or a tree, cells with the same job group together to form a team. This team is called a tissue. For example, all the muscle cells in your arm work together as muscle tissue to help you with things. All the skin cells on your hand work together as skin tissue to protect you. It's like having different departments in our cell city, each with its own special function. Now, what happens when you put different types of tissues together? You get an organ. An organ is a collection of different tissues that work together to do a big, important job. Think about your heart. It's made of muscle tissue to pump blood, nerve tissue to control the pumping, and other tissues that form the blood vessels. All these tissues cooperate to make your heart work. Your brain, your lungs, your stomach, these are all amazing organs made of teams of tissues. The organization doesn't stop there. Different organs also work together in teams called organ systems. Each system has a major role in keeping the body running. For example, your digestive system includes your stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. They all work together to break down your food and get the nutrients your body needs. Your respiratory system, with your lungs and airways, is in charge of breathing. All these systems have to work together perfectly. So let's zoom all the way out. It all starts with one tiny cell. These cells group together to form tissues. Tissues come together to create organs. Organs work in teams as organ systems. And all those organ systems working together make up a whole organism, you. Every single one of the trillions of cells in your body has a job to do, and they are all interconnected. It's an incredible level of organization, from the tiniest building block to the complex person you are today. Understanding cells helps us understand the amazing story of life itself.